Donald Trump is being sued yet again, this time by the Central Park Five for defamation based on his comments during his debate with Vice President Kamala Harris. Let's discuss. I'm Dave Aronberg, State Attorney for Palm Beach County, a.k.a. the Florida Lawman here on the MeidasTouch Network. And Donald Trump, who's used to being sued, but lately he's been losing these massive judgments, whether it's to Stormy Daniels, or to E. Jean Carroll, or to the state of New York and Letitia James. Well, now he's got to face the Central Park Five. Just as a refresher, back in 1989, there were these five guys: Corey Wise, Yusef Salaam, Raymond Santana, Kevin Richardson, and Antron McCray. They were known as the Central Park Five after they were arrested and convicted of a rape and assault of a jogger in Central Park. Taken together, they all spent decades in prison before being cleared by DNA evidence and the confession of another man. Now, during the presidential debate between Trump and Kamala Harris, Vice President Harris noted that Trump, who is then a developer in New York, took out a full-page advertisement in the New York ad, calling for the death penalty in the case. Harris said it demonstrated that Donald Trump had long attempted to use race to divide the American people. And in response to the debate, Trump falsely claimed that the men had pleaded guilty to the crime and that someone had been killed during the attack.
The Central Park Five, they admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty.
Well, now the Central Park Five has filed a lawsuit in federal court in Philadelphia, where the debate took place, accusing Trump of making false and defamatory statements about the case. According to the New York Times, Shannon Spector, a lawyer representing the men, noted that their convictions had been overturned. DNA evidence had cleared them, and another man had confessed. The men, who now prefer to be known as the Exonerated Five, received $41 million in 2014 in a civil settlement with New York City. Quote, "He made it appear that they were guilty when, in fact, it's been demonstrated that they are not guilty," Mr. Spector said in an interview. "It is devastating to be accused of these things all over again on national television to an audience of 67 million people. Mr. Trump's comments are part of a continuing pattern of false statements stretching back decades, designed to make the men suffer," the lawsuit charges. So what do you think Trump's response has been? Well, according to his spokesperson, Stephen Chung, it's exactly what you would think. They're calling it election interference. That's the Central Park Five is doing Kamala Harris's bidding to try to interfere with the election. It's like a one-note band. And it's not the first time that Donald Trump has lied about what happened to the Central Park Five. Asked in 2019 why he would not apologize to the men in spite of their exonerations, Mr. Trump said they admitted their guilt. The men have said that police officers coerced them into false confessions. And then the DNA evidence and the confession by a different person led to their release, led to their successful settlement for millions of dollars with the city of New York. And they have indeed been exonerated. So saying that you admitted your guilt and that somehow makes it all better is not truthful, because they admitted their guilt and then shortly thereafter it came out that their guilt was coerced. So you can't keep saying they admitted their guilt years later. You have to at least own up to it. The way to get out of something like this is to say, at the time, I thought they were guilty because they admitted their guilt, but now we know differently. That's not what he said at the debate. He stuck to the story that they admitted their guilt. That means they're still guilty. And now he may have to pay the consequences. And it's not just money consequences that Trump may be paying. He may also pay for it politically.
Wrongfully convicted.
5 teenagers were arrested, tried, convicted, and sent to prison.
No men were exonerated.
What he did to us, he tried to end us.
Of course I hate these people.
So-called the Central Park Five.
Calling for execution.
And let's all hate these people.
You cannot have this man go into office again.
And I want society to hate him.
We were innocent kids.
The confessions were coerced.
Today, we are exonerated. That guy says he still stands by the original guilty verdict. This is about democracy being on the ballot.
I have absolutely no compassion.
Look at Kamala. She represents the kaleidoscope of the human family. There's something different happening in America. We will get the opportunity to build a future where we will be able to thrive and not just survive.
4 of the Central Park 5 spoke at the Democratic Convention, where they talked about the damage that Trump caused them and that Trump was not fit to become president of the United States. Here's a clip.
45 wanted us unalived. He wanted us dead. Today we are exonerated because the actual perpetrator confessed and DNA proved it. That guy says he still stands by the original guilty verdict. He dismisses the scientific evidence rather than admit he was wrong. He has never changed, and he never will.
One of the Central Park 5, Mr. Salam, now represents Harlem as a member of the New York City Council. Well, he's part of the lawsuit too, and he also recorded a radio ad in support of Vice President Harris that began airing this weekend in North Carolina and Georgia, targeting black voters. The ad says, "Expect no justice and fairness under Trump. In this election, we must again reject Trump's hate and chaos." Now, to sustain a defamation case, when you are a public figure, you need to show a reckless disregard for truth. It needs to be something more than a mistake. It needs to be something that showed bad faith. It needs to be shown actual malice, that you did it where you knew the truth and you disregarded it, or you just should have known it because it was so obvious and you just were so reckless that you also reached that higher burden where it's definitely no mistake. It's something that you should have known and you did it anyways. And that's what he's being sued for. It's for that heightened level. In the lawsuit, the lawyer for the Central Park 5 said that Mr. Trump's statements displayed reckless disregard for the truth by omitting key facts and were knowingly false. That's the standard for defamation I've just discussed. So they are going for the jugular, saying that he knew the truth and lied about it. And even though these individuals are public figures because of all this, that Trump's actions meet that level. And indeed, if he continues to say it, whether in 2019 and now, even years later, when it's clear that their conviction has been overturned, they've been exonerated, someone else confessed to it, that yes, saying that, yeah, they're still guilty because they confessed to it should be defamation. Whether this gets to court or whether it settles, we'll see. But I have a feeling this thing is not just going to fade away. So that's the latest with yet another lawsuit against Donald Trump. This time from the Central Park 5. I'm Dave Aronberg, a.k.a. the Florida Lawman. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, share with a friend, leave a comment below. I love reading your comments, and I try to respond to as many as I can. Thank you for your support, and also check out our sister channel, True Crime MTN, where I talk about the hottest true crime cases like Sarah Boone, the woman who locked her boyfriend in a suitcase and left him to die. Some pretty morbid stuff. We keep it interesting here on the MeidasTouch Network and True Crime MTN. And I'll see you next time.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.